Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Wow Seat. I am Allie Nicole Waters, while she does it all, and I am grateful to have you join in for this segment. Now, the Wow Seat features 5 signature segments that are each hosted on different platforms, and these segments are specifically designed for helping individuals to level up their wow factor in lifestyle, careers, and more. Now, this particular platform features special guests that are making a difference in their primary industries or in the world at large with their wow works. And you can learn more about those different segments on our Tumblr platform at www.thewowseat.tumblr.com. And you can also find us on our Facebook page, The Wow Seat Podcast. So be sure to like and follow us there as well. Well, our core focus today is on overcoming odds and getting to your wow mission. And I am beyond excited about bringing forth our special guest who certainly demonstrates the wow factor in a very profound way. And it really is my absolute honor and privilege to be featuring Oleg Lougheed, who is the Executive Director at Overcoming Odds, and he will be sharing with us today about his journey of getting to his wow mission by overcoming the odds, and also why it's important to discover your wow mission. And I just want to mention that I've included in the show description a brief bio about his unique journey, and you will also find how you could connect with him via social media, his website, podcast, and there's also a bonus video link to his TEDx talk on how to overcome your odds. But before I bring him on, I really would like to say that Oleg, to me, represents the wow factor in motion and bringing forth his worthwhile, outstanding work in this world in a very, very special way. And I am coining him as one who is demonstrating a new definition of being an overcomer in this new era, because he truly is the epitome of someone who breaks through beyond barriers and leverages his journey to help others live not only the life that they have always dreamed of, but one far beyond what they could have ever imagined for themselves, even despite their challenges. And it's interesting because the more I learn about him and his mission, it's really amazing how his impact through overcoming odds really helps to transform others' misfortunes into what I really believe are their life mastery messages. And that's such a gift to be able to help people recognize the uniqueness and value within their own stories, which to me is a wow within itself. And that's why I'm very excited to have a conversation with him today. So I am going to check and see if I have Oleg on the line. And I do. So I want to give a warm welcome. Oleg, thank you for joining me on the Wow Seat today.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here, and also thank you for that very kind introduction. I actually have not heard many of the things that you described about me, so it was a pleasure to learn that about myself and also better understand how others choose to view me and how others see me in regard to how I show up to them.
Oh, you are most welcome. You are phenomenal. And, we had a wonderful conversation last year, and it was really a pleasure to speak with you, and how we carried on really for what felt like hours just having a conversation. And I was saying to myself, I have a short segment here that I want to feature you in, and it's going to be interesting how we talk in a 15 to 30-minute segment when we could go on and on about a variety of things. So that within itself is going to be a wow experience that you and I can have a brief conversation today. I'd like to see how that pans out. And so before we get started, because I do want to have you share about your journey and your experience so that we can really flesh out the topic for today, but I have a question that I want to start this segment out with, and I want to preface that by just saying, for me, life is one big wow experience, and I really try to look for the wonder and the wow in the subtle and significant things. So what has been your most recent wow moment that you could share with our listening audience?
I think my most recent wow moment is really just understanding the power of connection and connecting with other people. So I always look at connections, and I firmly believe that we are always one connection away from achieving and accomplishing whatever vision and dream that we have in mind. And so as part of it, what it actually does is it allows me to have a much better and a much deeper relationship with curiosity. So when I put myself in positions where I'm connecting with people and there's no agenda, there are no specific limitations that I set for that individual as far as how they might be able to help me and how I might be able to help them, that's where I think the world ultimately does become the world of possibility because all of the doors begin to open up. So for me, the wow moment is really just understanding the different connections that we can make within this lifetime, but also knowing that when a door closes, it doesn't mean that that door has closed forever. What I believe it means is that that door has opened another door and another opportunity in life. So the wow moments for me really come from the different opportunities and elements that give me energy, which is really just connecting with other people and understanding that each and every single one of us is unique and is worthy and has something to share with the other person that he or she may not have experienced within their lifetime.
That is so rich. That everything you said right there is really a show topic within itself on the power of connections and how we should really honor connections because they are divine, and understanding how we are linked. And what I loved what you said about being non-agenda based in nature in terms of when you connect with someone. It's just allowing it to evolve and emerge to what it's supposed to be. And definitely relationships or connections can be seasonal. They can be for a lifetime. And as you mentioned, that one door can close only for another door to open. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, that door is shut forever. But for a season, it could be that the situation needed to transition to something else, and we all have a lot of different things going on. I'm so glad that you shared that because that really is a wow moment, a wow experience. So thank you very much for that. Go ahead.
No, I appreciate you asking that question to begin with. I think for me, one of the other things that I've also learned when it comes to connecting with people, and I think this dives into our topic directly, which was the power of our story. So I'm a firm believer that before you can connect with other people, and I mean truly connect, you have to be able to connect with yourself. And the reason why I say that is I'm speaking only from my perspective. So before I started truly connecting with other people and really understanding the power of those connections, I had to understand the connection that I had with myself. And what I mean by that is I had to better understand myself in terms of how much am I revealing, what are the areas that I'm trying to step into and grow in and improve. And what's been really fascinating as part of that journey is that I firmly believe that at the end of the day, people want to understand people. And so as part of that, what I've learned is that it's very important to showcase the whole process. of your human journey. So the good, the bad, the everything in between, because that's what makes us human, right? That's what makes us feel like there's no perfection and that we are imperfect human beings learning in the world, where the name of the game becomes learning how to be comfortable in being uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
So that's really what I've learned when it comes to the different connections, is really just understanding how to connect with yourself first, and then from there putting myself in positions where I can connect with others, but then that connection just happens naturally because I already feel comfortable and at ease within my own being.
Absolutely. It's just organic because it is just your nature, like you said, your way of being. And that really is the foundation, the genesis of where we all should begin, is with ourselves, because that really is the wow of who we are. That's what makes us unique. And it's really difficult to understand who you are, your uniqueness rather, if you don't know who you are. So again, I'm so glad that you brought that up, which kind of transitions us in a sense to what I wanted to ask you next, because in order to best understand yourself and bring forth this wow factor or wow mission, in the world, you have to embody the truth of who you are in order to live out this purpose. So I want to ask you, and I'm excited about this, is to start talking more about your worthwhile, outstanding work to me, which is the wow work. In other words, it's your wow mission. So you have your story within that. So share a little bit about how you got to, what your wow mission is and how you evolved to that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, the story began in a foreign country. It started off in a relatively small town called Chubarkul in Russia, which for those that are aware or have an understanding of geography, it's in the direction of Kazakhstan. And for my first 12 years of my life, I had lived there. I was born into a family of a mother and a sister who was 18 years older. My father, there's still some mixed stories as far as whether or not he was even present during the time of birth or if he had left our family then. And there are a couple other stories that are circulating around his presence. And so for me, the first 3 to 4 years started off what I would say is relatively normal. And that is I had opportunities to understand what a family was. I mean, I lived under one roof with my mom and my sister. But then at that particular age, something had happened, and I'm still trying to figure out what that was. And my mom ended up turning essentially towards the bottle and becoming an alcoholic. And then my sister, because of that decision, ultimately ended up becoming my legal guardian. Wow. And so what's interesting about that journey is that not only was my sister put in that difficult spot of trying to take care of her brother, but it also put me in a position where I had to learn how to become an adult from a very young age.
Yeah,
so what I mean by that is moments where I had to go out there and steal food, find shelter, keep looking for wherever my mom was that time. But one of the biggest things that I take away from those particular experiences are the lessons that I learned from it. I think it's easy and it was for me for the longest time. When I looked at my past, it was easy for me to just blame and say, okay, my mom was a terrible person. She drank. She clearly was irresponsible, didn't care about me. But it was much harder for me to take a step back and say, okay, despite of all of that, what did she teach me? Because there had to be lessons that she taught me, whether it was spokenly or unspokenly. And one of the biggest lessons that I firmly believe my birth mom had taught me was this ability to persevere and to be driven, which is really who I am.
Yes.
And the reason why I say that is because the 9 times out of 10 when I went out there looking for her and I looked at the different apartments she was at, the different boyfriends she was with, I came out short. But the message that I continued to repeat within my head of just one more place, just talk to one more person, she may be there, is the message that I continue to repeat to myself even in today's day and age.
Wow.
So when I look at those experiences, I think as difficult as the past was, I think there are many opportunities that we can take away from it, and which firmly makes me believe that our past doesn't have to define our present or our future.
Right.
And so we do have a choice in how we view any of those. And as part of it, we get to decide of whether or not we live in our past and which elements of it that we choose to carry forward with us. So fast forward to when I was 9 years old, I had an experience where I felt that enough was enough and that I chose to change my life's trajectory. And I gave up my parents' rights as a 9-year-old kid and went into an orphanage where I ended up living for 3 years. And then it was through that system I was able to be adopted by a family from Ann Arbor, Michigan at the age of 12. Came to the United States, didn't speak any English, didn't know really much about this part of the world besides just a few distinct names such as Michael Jordan. And just understood that I've done this before as far as I've been put in situations and environments where I had to adapt, adjust, and unlearn certain things. And so I can do it again. So that was kind of my brief journey to it. And, when you talk about the mission and the work, I think what was important for me was really just asking myself the question of why me? I mean, that's how it all started. And for the longest time, I used to think that the answer to that question had to come in this dramatic fashion. But really, the answer was always within me. And it was, if not you, then who else?
Yes, exactly. You were born for this. Everything you're talking about so far and what I know to be true about you and your work, you were just oriented for this really from birth. And this was definitely your mission, which I know you're going to talk more about this and what that mission, that primary mission is. So, talk about that. Let's segue into that so you can get into overcoming odds.
Yeah, so about two and a half years ago, I had started a platform where it really was just a space for people to be able to process their own experiences and give people an opportunity to rewrite their narrative. So we created this space. It was an online platform or website, I guess you could, for better understanding of what it was, for people who were part of the foster care experience or had been adopted to really share all sides of the story. And what I began to learn within, I think it was within the first 20 or 30, maybe 100 stories that were submitted, was that some of the people that were reaching out had no relationship to either of the fields. So these were people who were refugees, immigrants, LGBTQ, a lot of groups that have been marginalized in today's day and age. And that's where I began to understand that the space is so much more than those who have been adopted or through the foster care system. And so we started to dig into that more and open that space up. And then we began to notice that there's something else that had to be as part of this whole transformation and the whole journey. And I think one of the best ways that I've been able to form decisions like that is really being able to take a step back and reflect upon my past. And the biggest impact that I experienced prior to starting this work to begin with was actually through a documentary that I watched with Tony Robbins. It's called I'm Not Your Guru. And I watched that 2 or 3
with that.
I watched that 2 or 3 times straight. And that's where it all began to make sense, that this particular thing has to be in addition to a space where people can share their stories through the online platform. It has to be in person. So it has to be events where people can gather and be vulnerable and share about topics that they don't really get many opportunities to talk about on a daily basis. And it was really in that moment that I started to look at my life and understand that I didn't even have those spaces myself. I mean, besides a handful of friends, You know, it's not like I could go into a Starbucks or a grocery store and express to the person what I'm actually going through that day. Just the time doesn't allow it. The space is not created for that. And the other thing that I was experiencing at the time was when you spoke about this concept of therapy, you know, therapists did not have the best image. And so going into therapy meant that you had problems or you needed help or whatever it was. But really it was just through understanding of kind of my own journey that I said that, okay, I need elements like that.
Yes,
and so as part of it, what I've been able to understand is that therapy comes in different shapes and sizes. It doesn't only come from a professional. I think at the core of therapy is a space where you can be heard and your experience can be validated.
Absolutely.
And so that's really what the space has been about, as far as attracting what it is and creating these opportunities where other people can find worthiness within their own experience and ultimately find their voice.
This is certainly a wow mission for sure, and you're definitely making a huge impact, because just from what I've learned and I've read and heard from you as well about your journey and this experience and the continued evolution of this work, as I mentioned to you even in a conversation that we had, that I see this becoming even much more expansive as it takes on a whole new evolution. And it's so good that you are someone who's so open to creating these types of spaces and allowing your experience to be that container to continue to have your experiences so that you can create these. I mean, you definitely, as I said, was born, for this. What I want to ask you, because I know that we have only about 8 minutes left in this segment, and of course I'm going to have you on other platforms to showcase you as well, because your mission and your journey is so layered, it's multidimensional, and I want to make sure that others get to hear and learn more about those different facets of who you are. But what I want to talk about now is the importance of finding or discovering one's life work or mission, because you've discovered yours, and because you have looked at what's happening for so many people. And a lot of times I don't believe that people understand how important their lives are and why they should find what it is they're here to do. So could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when it comes to finding your life's work or your mission, I think one of the most common misconceptions is that oftentimes we think that that particular thing has to come from acquiring more experiences. So one of the biggest things that I've seen, especially from people who are relatively close to my age, is that sometimes we think that we have to go travel the world or do these different things to find that purpose or find that meaning. But really what I think it boils down to is looking inward and choosing to identify any of the events, any of the experiences that you already had as purposeful.
Absolutely.
So the name, the reason why I think that is because I think it's very similar to literally any other principle. I mean, you think about resources, right? Common thought that we sometimes experience is that we don't have enough resources. But really what I think the question becomes is, how do I make the resources more resourceful, or how do I become more resourceful with the resources that I have?
More resourceful.
And so I think this whole concept of purpose, I don't think it's ever lost. I think you get to define your purpose, and then throughout life you get to refine your purpose. But I think the whole concept of thinking that it's lost and that we have to go out there and purchase X, Y, and Z and we'll find it, I don't think it's ultimately true. Now, there might be elements of it that's true, but I just know that in my experience, it really boiled down to identifying the events within my life and then making them purposeful by committing to the journey, by committing to the process of self-discovery and understanding that I'm here to grow, I'm here to learn, And as part of it, I'm going to attract other people who are along similar paths and similar missions. And together we'll be able to actually go through a much more significant growth process, because then we have input and multiple perspectives being shared on the different themes and topics.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree wholeheartedly, and you could not have stated that any better, because that was wonderful. You know, it makes me think about the Wizard of Oz. You know, we go on these journeys and we discover that everything is always right at home with us, and it's really about going inward, like you mentioned, and being able to really extract that part of the journey out. And yes, core elements we have to go on a discovery for a few things, but ultimately who we are and the uniqueness and the purpose of our mission is always within. So what I want to do right now, because we have a little bit under 4 minutes left in this segment, and I want to give you an opportunity to share, you know, your website and how people can reach you, which I do have those in our show descriptions. But my final question for you would be, what advice or empowerment to others would you provide for overcoming to get to their WOW mission?
Well, I think the biggest advice for that is to continue to tell yourself that it's possible and put yourself in a position where you're truly trying to embody the message of never say you can't. So I think language is extremely important, and oftentimes we are the ones that ultimately put ourselves out of certain possibilities and opportunities to begin with, simply by the language that we choose to repeat within ourselves. So if I tell myself that I can't do something, it automatically puts my mind in a position where it's not going to figure it out. But if I tell myself that it's possible, that there is a way, and continue to repeat that, and I'm pretty sure for me this actually came from a video by Les Brown. It's a famous presentation that he has done on almost the same exact topic called It's Possible. So for me, what I've learned is that it's not really about knowing the how, it's about knowing where to start, and then from there continuing to believe that it is possible to achieve whatever it is that you envision. And through the help of others and also your commitment to yourself, you'll be able to find that particular thing that you're looking for or hoping to achieve.
Well stated. That is so beautiful. Thank you. That is such profound empowerment. And before I let you go, and I'm so thankful that you joined me for the WOW Seat today, share your website or any upcoming WOW projects that you have going on.
Well, the best way to connect would be through LinkedIn, like you and I have, and that is just simply by typing in my name. As far as our organization, you'll be able to find it across many different platforms, simply searching Overcoming Odds, and the website is overcomingodds.today, and that's where you'll be able to find different stories, podcasts, events that we have coming up, and other opportunities for you to get involved and engaged with what we're trying to accomplish.
Wonderful, wonderful. You have certainly brought the WOW to the WOW Seat today, and I can't thank you enough. And as I mentioned, I'm going to certainly have you on other platforms and even back on this platform. So thank you so much for taking the time to grace our listeners with your story and your mission today, Oleg.
No, thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity and this space to be able to share my experience and also feel like the things that I'm shared and have lived through are valued, not only by myself, but by other people.
They are absolutely valuable. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. So this was a very powerful segment today, and we've certainly been empowered to know that we can be overcomers and really transform our trials into triumphs and discover our WOW mission in the world. It's so exciting to have had this time with him. And thanks so much for listening in. And I am Alicia Nicole Waters, also known as Allie Nicole Waters, Wow She Does It All. And you can learn more about me on my press site at www.wowshedoesitall.com. And until the next segment, have a great day. And, of course, go out and make this a wow week. And stay blessed.